on time. So, with us today is Rick Mazur, who's the CEO of Forum Energy. It's our largest uranium holding here, trading at 8 cents US. Can't even believe I'm saying that. But Rick and I met a few years ago. I really love his style of management. He's very hands-on. He has a ton of experience in the uranium space. And there's just been a lot of good news flow that I think has been overlooked this year, which is one of the reasons we're hosting this today. So Rick, thanks a lot for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for the invite.
Of course. So Rick, why don't you start with a 10-minute overview here? I'll ask a few questions and then we'll open it up to the group, okay?
I'll try and keep it under 10. I've got a lot of good things to talk about, but we'll try and so yeah, here's our disclaimer of forward-looking statements. I started the company in 2004 as a uranium explorer, and then have since diversified into copper and nickel and cobalt, and changed the name to Forum Energy Metals. But today I'm going to focus on the two projects that are going to be catalysts for our company in 2023, and that's two uranium projects we have. Market capitalization is about $19 million. We've got almost $2 million in cash. As I mentioned, I started in 2004. Started my career as a uranium geologist. So I've been involved in uranium in the 70s, and then started up things again in the late 1990s and 2000s. So I'm very committed to uranium exploration, have a ton of experience. In 2007, Ken Wheatley joined our company. He's our VP Exploration. And listen, he's one of the top experts on these unconformity type deposits that occur in the Athabasca Basin, these high grade deposits. So we're glad to have Ken on board. And then more recently, we've just brought Dr. Rebecca Hunter onto the team, and I'm really pleased to have her join us. She formerly worked at Cameco, has some 15 years of experience in the uranium sector, and actually a broad knowledge of a number of different battery metal, copper, cobalt type commodity deposit types. A very well-rounded geologist, but a great addition to the team. She managed the Thelon project for Cameco, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So today's presentation is what I like to call a tale of two basins. We all know the Athabasca Basin, very prolific uranium basin for high-grade deposits. Well, there's only two other basins in the world that are similar geologically: the McArthur Basin in Australia and the Thelon Basin in Nunavut. And we have a tremendous land position in the Thelon Basin, as well as in the Athabasca Basin, where the company first got started. So we're gonna talk about Forum's projects in both of these basins. We're well positioned for discovery in both of these areas. So we've been accumulating good uranium ground since 2004, as I mentioned. So we've got 9 drill-ready projects in the Athabasca Basin, and our next drill program is going to be on our 100% owned Wollaston project. It's very well located in the northeastern part of the basin. Here's Cameco's Rabbit Lake Mill and Orano's Denison's McLean Lake Mill, all within 30 kilometers of the project area. A myriad of deposits in the area have been discovered. It's a very prolific part of the basin. And then here's our property shown here that has seen very limited historic drilling. So we recently completed an airborne magnetic and EM survey, the MAG on the left here, and the EM on the right. Well, this is tremendous data that has shown us that there's a lot of good targets on this property, as you can see from these ellipses shown on these two images. Well, we decided to do this survey after our drill program in the area in last winter, where we made the Gizmo discovery. We drilled 8 holes in this little area here of this very large property. And one of the targets, Gizmo, came up with some really good looking rock and some great uranium mineralization up to 0.21% uranium, which suggests that there's a pretty strong mineralizing event in the area. So we're going to do a minimum 3,000 meters of drilling on this project, which is commencing next week. So here are some images of some of the drill core that we got. Here's some pitch blende with some alteration rims, and you can see the secondary hematite here. These are all typical attributes of uranium deposits. So we think there's something significant here. We just got to find that big nugget of uranium. So turning to the Thelon Basin, not many people know much about this basin, but it's very important geologically. And here's the Athabasca Basin here in Saskatchewan, and here's the Thelon Basin. There's an economic mineral deposit here owned by Orano with joint venture partners Denison and UEC Corporation. It's 133 million pounds of uranium here in an open pit deposit. Well, Orano completed a feasibility study from 2005 to 14 and submitted a development proposal. And while that was going on, Forum and Cameco were both exploring in the area, and some very significant discoveries were made. But with the low prices that occurred after 2011, Orano put the Kigavik project on care and maintenance, and Cameco eventually let their claims lapse. So being the fleet of foot junior explorer that we are, I've been keeping my eye on this area and saw that the claims had lapsed. So we immediately embarked last year on a staking campaign here around Orano's deposit. Here's Orano's Kigavik deposit in orange, and green is all the ground that Cameco or that Forum staked that was formerly held by Cameco. And on this property, 3 discoveries were made by Cameco, which I'll go into some detail on. Now, the property is reasonably well located in the north. Here's the community of Baker Lake, which has ocean access to Hudson Bay, and then on your way to Europe here. And we know that developing deposits can be done in this area, because here's the community of Baker Lake. And then to the north is Agnico Eagle's gold deposits, Meadowbank and Amaruq, which is currently producing gold as we speak. So it's a well-located part of Canada. So our current land position, again, just zeroing in on the Orano leases here. These are the deposits, Kigavik, Andrew, and End, that were proposed for development by Orano. And to the west here, Cameco drilled 36,000 meters of drilling and discovered the Tatagak deposit here, right next to the End and Andrew Lake deposits, within 5 kilometers of some of Orano's deposits, and the Kavik deposit here, and the Ira showing, which we'll talk about a bit later. And during the work that they did from 2005 to about 2012, they found a number, you can hardly see it here, but these yellow dots here, they found a number of high priority targets. About 15 of them were identified. And this is a tremendous project for our company that people don't really understand the significance. We're picking up where Cameco left off. They would have put 3 to 5 drills on these targets, if Fukushima hadn't happened in 2011. So it represents a tremendous opportunity for the company and foreign shareholders. So let's try and. I'm going to focus on this Tadagak project target, which is 5 kilometers from Orano's Andrew Lake deposit. So this image that you're seeing here is what we call it. It's a large gravity anomaly. What it's showing is a significant alteration and mineralizing event that brings uranium into this area. And Cameco, these are all of Cameco's drill holes, and they discovered 2 deposits here, the main and the west zone. It's only about 200 meters here that they drilled along this structure within this large anomaly, and it's a non-compliant estimate of the resources here is somewhere around 8 million pounds grading 1% uranium. This is a significant discovery and a significant event. Look at the size of this anomaly. We've got, another 13 to 1,500 meters of drilling along this structure to build more uranium in this target. And there's these other structures through here as well, which could be just as prolific. So looking at the size of this anomaly and comparing it to Andrew Lake, which hosts 59 million pounds, 5 kilometers to the east on Orano's ground, we think this thing has tremendous potential to grow. So here's some of the rock. I mean, you'd think you're in the Athabasca Basin when you look at this stuff. You got the bleaching, you got the secondary hematite, all the black there is pitch blende mineralization. The grades, Athabasca Basin grades, look at that, 1% over 15 meters, 2.5% over 8 meters with a 25% uranium intercept there. I mean, this is the Athabasca Basin, first discovery of like the first discovery in the Athabasca Basin 50 years ago. So there's tons of potential here on this project.
Hey, Rick, could you go back to that slide?
Sure.
15 there, yeah. So just explain to the group, we're looking at a slide here, guys, that says 2011, right? So that's the last time Cameco was drilling, is that correct?
Yes. Actually, they did drill in 2012. They had the budget to drill. They were going to go in with a few more drills, but after Fukushima, they just had a small drill campaign in 2012. Yep, that was the last time.
Okay. So I mean, CCJ Cameco is obviously one of the biggest players in uranium, right? So like they have so many projects going on that I think it's important to go back to slide 12 as well, because I think you guys did a really good job with the staking. And just to explain to people, 12, Rick, please, just one before this one. There you go. So like when you're looking at those claims that you were able to stake, how much did that cost you, and how much did Cameco spend drilling?
Yeah, well, 36,000 meters of drilling plus all the airborne surveys, et cetera, that they did. It's our best estimate that what they did probably cost them close to $80 million. And I staked it for $165,000.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I remember you telling me a few months ago. For those of you that want to read more about the news release, it's February 1st.
Why'd you spend so much? I'm kidding.
They asked why you spent so much, Rick. Come on, do a better job for shareholders.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on other pieces of good ground that we know about. So shall I carry on, John?
Yeah, just go to slide there, 16. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, so hey, what's really got us excited about this project is some of the drilling that Cameco did in areas where the sandstone is covering the basement rocks. And this slide on this iris showing is completely altered to clay. That's actually the contact between Thelon sandstone, which is very similar to the Athabasca sandstone, and the basement rocks down here. Totally altered, and these are the types of alteration assemblages that happen over some of the very large uranium deposits in the Athabasca Basin, like McArthur River and like Cigar Lake. We believe that the Thelon, and there's no reason why there shouldn't be supergiant uranium deposits like that in the Thelon Basin. The Athabasca and the Thelon are very similar, and all we have to do is get in there and drill these things. And we're very fortunate in that, we've picked up this ground, and like I said, we're just picking up where Cameco left off. So the plan for 2023 is we've got to mobilize drills, and we've already purchased the fuel. We're mobilizing drills and camp and all kinds of supplies next winter, and build the camp next spring, and then start drilling next summer. That's the game plan. And the focus will be on the Tadagac, that big large anomaly that I showed you. We want to build up the resources on that target, but at the same time, we would like to have a second drill up there, targeting some of these other 15 target areas that Cameco identified for us that could host some of these much larger deposits. And we have to see how big the Tadagac showing is, and prove the economic potential here. So that's the game plan for 2023, and we're very excited about implementing that next year. So any questions? I'm certainly would love to hear some questions from the audience.
Sure. Anyone have any questions? Okay, Rick. Well,
I have a question. Is Cameco the biggest uranium producer in the world?
The Kazatomprom is probably bigger than Cameco, but listen, with geopolitical events that are going on right now, we don't want to be relying on Russian uranium. And well, I shouldn't. That's no. Kazakhstan is not a Russian country, but listen, it certainly has a lot of influence. So, the concern in the uranium market, Eric, is that right now 30% of the enriched uranium, uranium comes out of the ground as a concentrate, just like copper or nickel or anything like that, and then it's converted and then enriched, so as fuel that goes into a nuclear reactor. And clearly 30% of enriched uranium comes from Russian enrichment facilities, and the United States 130 reactors, probably 30% of the uranium that's powering the heat and light or the lights now is coming from Russian uranium, and those contracts are Russian enriched uranium, and those contracts are going to end very quickly. There's going to be a huge demand for domestic uranium.
Thank you.
So how many new reactors do you think are coming online in the next 10 years?
Well, China has said that they're going to be doing 150 million reactors. Sorry, 150 reactors coming online. There's 49 for sure that are under construction right now. 21 in China, 7 in India, 4 in Turkey, 3 in South Korea, 3 in Russia, and actually in the United States and Georgia, there's a couple of reactors that are being refurbished.
And how many of them are potential market for you?
Sorry, what was the question again?
How many are a potential market for your uranium?
Oh, I mean, our uranium is going to replace what's going to be coming out of the ground here in the next 10 years. So, I mean, our uranium, if once we explore and develop and get it to a point where this actually is a uranium mine, we will. There's going to be a lot more uranium or nuclear reactors being built around the world that are going to need uranium.
And are we a target for the next guy, or are we the? I mean, are we a target for a larger producer, or is that what we're trying to get to?
Well, Forum is an exploration company. I like to say we're a discovery company, and in our business, and John can he can certainly expand on it. But in our business, if a discovery of a brand new deposit comes out of the drill bit for a 10-cent stock, the instant value that can happen to that company can give you 5 to 10 times the value. John, I'll let you pipe in on that one.
Sure, Rick. Yeah, Michael, good question. One of the reasons I got interested in this, Michael, before you and I met was Forum had caught the eye of Justin Hune, who's the uranium insider. He had 4,000 paid subs at the time, and he put a sell on 50% of his position in Q4, which took the stock down from the 40s in the US to 29 cents in literally in like 1 or 2 days. There was another player out there that took that the other side of the trade. Stock rallied again, and then in December he put a 50% sell on the rest of his shares, which then drove the stock price from 29 US down to 11 cents US, which is where we started to buy it. And we continue to buy the stock because some stocks, as you guys know, in the junior market have not recovered much at all since the since the summer of 2020, right? So like, and you have an event like that when you have all this selling, and I can't verify this, but I do see it with many other juniors, Michael, where there's just a ton of, short selling that then follows, right? Like these guys get in their head, oh, there's something wrong with the stock. They just keep betting against it. I see this all the time, right? I mean, you saw it with the palladium as a price. I pointed out on an email today, like fourth quarter last year, palladium got gained by the shorts, and then all of a sudden it just rallied, and then you had Russia, go into Ukraine in February, and the price went berserk, right? So to Rick's point, people will play with these kind of stocks until they can't play with them anymore. There's a lot of naked shorting going on in the junior space. I talk about this all the time, and I can't say the Forum's been a target for that, but I can say that the event that took place just over a year ago took a lot of wind out of the sails of the stock for absolutely no reason. Justin, if you look at his analysis, was selling based on copper results. It wasn't even on the uranium piece. So to me, it was you know, it was just a very difficult event for the company to get through. But now that those guys are all gone, I think there's a lot more clear sailing going forward. And when you look at, as Rick pointed out on slide 12, what they're doing with Cameco's claims that I was pointing out, that's the February 1 news release. If you guys want to look at it on the website, I think it's very relevant that they got it for so cheap, but they also brought on Dr. Hunter, who used to work at Cameco, right, Rick? So I think that's a major deal for the company in 2023.
Yeah, that's going to be a major catalyst for Forum for sure. And the immediate catalyst is, let's not forget, we're well positioned in the Athabasca Basin, which is currently the richest uranium producing area in the world. We're going to start drilling on one of our projects, Wollaston, in the coming weeks. So keep an eye on that. I mean, every drill hole, you know, could give us the surprise that we all expect.
And how long is your cash last?
Yeah, we've got $2 million. That'll last us certainly another year, we'll be looking at doing a very small fundraising at these ridiculously low prices to fund the upcoming drill program at Wollaston. If you're interested, when we pull the trigger on that, John can certainly let you know, or just keep an eye on any announcements by Forum, and you can certainly participate.
And anyone else?
When the uranium comes out of the mine here, does it have to go through another step? In other words, do you sell to the end user, or does it have to go through another smelting or refining process before it gets sold to the end user?
Yeah, so it comes out of the ground. It's crushed. It's concentrated into a concentrate, just like copper concentrate. It's only it's uranium concentrate, and then that goes through a process of conversion, and then it goes into an enrichment process to upgrade the uranium to U-235. It comes out of the ground as U-238, and then there's an enrichment process to U-235 that then is fabricated into little pellets. I actually have one here, not a real one, but here, let me just grab this. You can see what I'm talking about. So yeah, so this is from the Nuclear Energy Institute in the United States. So that little black pellet there, you know, is worth puts out as much heat as a ton of coal and 1,000 barrels of oil, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and who does that process? When you take the ore from this mine, who does that process?
Yeah, so in the United States, it's a company called Urenco, and then there's Urenco also has a facility in Europe that does the enrichment. So all uranium, and Areva has some enrichment facilities in Europe, and then I can't remember the name of the Russian company. There's enrichment facilities in Russia as well that, like I mentioned earlier, produces about 30% of enriched uranium that actually is the feed into a nuclear reactor.
Thank you.
Sir.
Rick, it's Ben here. Thanks for hosting this call. I came on a little late, so I just have a couple quick questions. With regards to news flow, can you kind of sketch out what you would be looking at over the next 6 months? And is Wollaston the only project that you're funding out of your current treasury, or are there programs at other projects as well that would come out of the current resources?
Yeah, the Wollaston project is going to be the main focus this winter. I have 2 other projects that are option to other parties. Orano, the French Nuclear Corporation, has an option on our Fur Island project, and we'll see what kind of work that they plan on doing there. There's another project, our High Rock, which is optioned out to a junior here in Canada that is planning a drill program this winter. I'm just dotting the I's and T's on another potential option joint venture with another junior company on a project in the Athabasca. So, we'll be focusing on Wollaston. And if during 2023, the main focus will be on our Nunavut project. Given that we get the kind of financing that we're looking for on that project.
Okay, and for Wollaston, what would be your timing to get rigs turning on the property, and what do you expect that program to take in terms of duration?
Yeah, so Wollaston, the rig should be turning next week. We're gonna try and get bang in as many holes as we can before Christmas, and take a little Christmas break, and then we'll be drilling there from January through till the end of March.
Okay, do you think you'll be batching those assays, or are you going to wait for the whole program to finish?
Oh no, we would as the drill core comes out of the hole and it gets sampled, we would do it in batches of 3 holes or something like that, whatever makes sense type of thing.
Okay, and what are you seeing from a timeline or turnaround from the assay labs at the moment?
Yeah, it's certainly 2022 has been very slow. 2 months, is what we're looking at, to be brutally honest. That's there's just been so much uranium activity, exploration activity going on in Saskatchewan that it's taking that long. But as you know, when the core comes out of the hole, you can detect the radioactivity from your scintillometer. So we have a pretty good idea what's coming out of the ground. Plus, we use a downhole radiometric probe for every hole. So we get a pretty good handle on what's coming out of the hole from the radiometric readings that we get. And listen, our guys have been doing this for a long time and are very, very well versed. They know what kind of grades of uranium are coming out of the hole from looking at the core and looking at the radiometric readings.
Okay, and for your 2 JVs, so for Fur Island, what's the decision date where Orano needs to make their first tranche of exploration commitments by?
Yeah, so they've actually earned under the terms of the agreement, they've earned their 51% interest. We have not heard from them, A, if they're going to exercise that right, and B, whether there's going to be when there's going to be a program. There's definitely not going to be a drill program this winter because they are still reviewing resistivity data that came out of that program. I mean, that's a very good question that I'll be asking them obviously early in the new year, what their plans are for 2023 on that project.
Okay, and as part of that earn-in, do they have to back in any expenditures or anything else, or is it just simply making the required property expenditures?
Yeah, to the next, they have another option, a third option to earn up to 70% by spending another $1.5 million.
Okay, but the 51 is vested now.
It is.
Okay.
It is. Yeah.
And on High Rock, what's the timeline for that first year commitment or first phase program under the JV agreement?
Yeah, they've made the first year commitment. We have yet to hear from them about definitive plans for drilling there this winter, but it's my understanding that that's their plan.
Okay. Do they have a timeline? What would be the decision date on them requiring more expenditure or?
Yeah, the next they'll have to spend another $1 million by the end of 2023. So the 2023 expenditure is $1 million.
And is
So
that a program?
They have to put another $1 million into it. They've put $1 million into it already.
Okay. And is that program drillable year round? Is it easier for winter drilling access? Is there a window that's preferable?
Last we chatted with them, they're planning to do a winter program. You can drill year round in Saskatchewan. It's preferable, given a typical very cold winter program in Saskatchewan, to do it in the winter because it's a little easier to get around on the frozen ground. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, outside of winter, it's a helicopter supported program, which you can do, but it's a little bit more costly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Those are good questions. Thanks.
Anyone else with some questions? Okay, hey Rick, in summary, it sounds like Wollaston is going to start getting drilled next week. That program, what you mentioned, would run, kind of December 1st into March. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the primary focus, but then, at some point in the spring, regarding the slide 12 that we talked about with the CCJ, new assets that you brought on, that would probably be something that you'd have to raise money for, sometime in the spring to get, a proper, project started shortly thereafter. Is that right?
Yeah. To get at Nunavut, our game plan is this. The ideal thing for us to do is to spin it out as a standalone. It's such a huge project with huge potential. We believe that it should be its own company, and we would spin that out obviously to our existing shareholders, or any existing shareholders would benefit from that spin out and the funding that would go into the Nunavut uranium project. That's the plan, anyways.
Okay, that's exciting. So I don't think there's any other questions. I think there were some great questions here today from everyone. As I mentioned, we started a position at 11 cents on FDCFF. We continue to add on weakness. We've bought it probably a dozen times this year. For those of you that know me on the call here, our style is to buy multiple times in a down market like this, because we're getting a blended cost, that's lower. We're lowering our average cost basis, right? If you make one purchase on any stock in 2020, you're pretty much wrong at this point, right? There's nothing in the mining spaces that's done very well since summer of 2020. So to us, it's important to continue to buy on weakness right now. And this is just that time of year, right, where you've got tax loss selling from now until December 29th in the US, and there's some great opportunities in the junior market, and I think this is one of them. So Rick, thanks a lot for coming on today. And if there's additional questions, feel free to email me at john.feneck@yahoo.com, or you can email Rick directly.
Thanks, John.
My pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to our story.